Have you ever run into a situation where you read a job description and it's literally describing you and you submit it, and then literally the next business day you get an automated message saying, no thanks? Because I've definitely run into that a lot over my career. It's one of those things that anybody is going to run into and struggle with. And I think you definitely need to hear that reinforcing statement that somebody will say, which is you never actually know what was happening behind the scenes. You don't know how old the job was because companies repost them. You don't know how far along they were, or if they sent an offer out, or what stage they have several candidates at. And the other thing to think about is that these people who are putting those jobs out, those hiring managers or recruiters, headhunters, they also are people, and they have a certain perception, and they'll only read a resume for a certain amount of time and they'll interpret it the way it means to them, and the job description as what it means for them if they're not the hiring manager. And if they're the hiring manager, then they have opinions about where somebody should be from in terms of technical background when they're hiring. And the ultimate reality that I think a lot of people need to face is you're not operating in the ideal world, especially now. What you are operating with is a world of connections and people and opinions and messy opinions. And you have to play the marketing game similar to a business. You become the service as a software developer, and you have to convince people that your kind of software development service is one that meets the conditions for that person's perception of what the job should be or how the job should be done. And that's the gap between thinking negative thoughts like, or thinking I should have got it because like it looks exactly like my resume is the same thing as that, or I've done that kind of stuff. Or then there's the more egotistical route that I think a lot of people have probably gone down, where it's, oh, but I'm an amazing developer. I think the thing that's funny about being a developer is I think the arc of thinking that you're super good is almost like a, I'm no math expert, but like what's an upside down parabola? It's like a sine wave past a certain point. It's essentially a valley where like you start out thinking that you're so good at development, and then you're kind of like, I think I've got a lot to learn, and then you start to realize your value, which I think is funny. But when you're applying for these positions, somebody's definitely looking for their perception of what somebody who can do the job well is. Now, there are a few objective things. For example, they want a certain amount of longevity. They want to make sure that you're going to stay there for long enough for it to make sense. And they want to make sure that you can problem solve. So if you run into something, you're not going to be like stuck. And then there's the interpersonal stuff. They want to make sure they're not going to be taken advantage of. They want to make sure you'll actually do your work. All these things and factors. But I don't want to go too deep into all of that. I want to say more on surface level that we need to do a few things when we're looking to change the situation that we're in to a different situation. It's what are the walls between me and there, and how do I get past them? Like, who are the points of contact? Let's say, for example, with the jobs, the gatekeepers are essentially these hiring managers, recruiters, headhunters, and they change your situation into one where you have a different position or a position you want, or any position, right? And that's why it's going to depend on their perception. And we need to remove ourselves from the thoughts of valuing, like applying some value to ourselves, like, oh, these guys don't want me, so I'm bad at this. Or these guys don't want me, so they're unfair and they're horrible, and the world is so evil. But yeah, the world is not fair, especially not when it comes to job applications. And that kind of makes me want to get into what are these guys looking for? When I apply, like, what is somebody looking for? And that might apply for a freelancer or a consultant, or obviously for a full-time applicant. And the answer is kind of, you have to take a step back and realize what position those gatekeepers are in, right? They are behind a business. In the case of a headhunter, that's a business that makes money off of sourcing a client to a business, right? In the case of a hiring manager, which is the example I'll focus on, they are hiring for a part of the company that needs to make money for the company which needs to make money also, right? So you are supposed to provide some kind of value that is measurable to the business for them to make the decision to say yes. And that's very important because I think as a developer, both of those two things, like you and I probably violate all the time. And the reality is that it's a constant battle to make sure that we're on the right track. And you get a lot better at it, obviously, as you go on. But when you're doing something like development at a business and that's the kind of thing we're targeting, it's like it's different if you're able to live in the woods and develop and you figured everything out and you hunt and forage and you don't need to make an income. That's different. For most people, you have to work in some way, and that means we have to play that game. And as a developer, it becomes suddenly not about how awesome or cool my code is or how well it's developed or if it's a really good system or something. There are some cases where algorithms got patented and they would be sold. I'm not super experienced with that. I haven't seen a lot of that happening nowadays. In most cases with developers, you are working to provide some business value, and that's what they're looking for. They're not looking for you to over-engineer something and make this really cool system that can do anything, but then nobody pays for it because nobody cares. And I think like it's not just with development, it's also if you're making a company too, or if you're trying to make a side project or a project that you dream one day will become your full-time work, right? In those cases, you might go and focus on the tech of the thing, but realistically, you're supposed to be focusing on the business of the thing, right? If I make something that can get me to space to mine an asteroid and nobody's buying space rocks, how is that going to make money? If we found out that some scientists discovered like infinite lithium in some space rock, and there's enough lithium to source the world for the next 1,000 years, something insane, right? Obviously insane. Then I'd say like, I go to an investor, I'm like, look, I know exactly how to make the most efficient lithium asteroid mining system. I don't know if that even makes sense. And then they're like, oh, we're selling more electric cars, energy, renewable energy. We probably want to move this direction. That makes sense, right? That's scalable. So there's like business value to saying like, we know that car companies are going to be buying lithium. There's tons of businesses that use electricity and all of that. And we know that they're going to need to be buying that. So if we're sourcing it and we have like kind of a stranglehold over it, then that's a business use case. If we just said like, oh, I know lithium, but I think it's cool to mine silver. Is like, oh, I can mine like all of the silver in the galaxy, but it's going to take me like 40 years or whatever. And then you find out the profit margin isn't worth it based on the fuel that you spend to get there. Then, okay, you have a cool thing that can mine silver in space, but it's not useful for a business use case. It's just something cool that you wanted to make. And you have to kind of separate those two things as a developer. There's me making a cool technical implementation, either for practice or fun or whatever it is. And then there's working for a company or making some business use case. And there's still fun in that, but the goal, like the outcome, has a different purpose. And you have to prove for, again, going back to this gatekeeper, this hiring manager who's like, I need business value. He needs to see that you're going to mine lithium for him, not that you're going to mine silver for him and make a cool system. He wants a system that's sustainable and is not going to cost him a lot to maintain. And a person who he's able to work with easily, he wants that person to come in and bring him lithium. So that's the key factor in trying to get hired or trying to get those kinds of positions. The other thing that, and that's something that gets violated all the time. I think, I don't know about you, but I've definitely made like 100 projects that were super cool, but then I had to learn my lesson and be like, okay, but nobody's going to pay for this. What's the business use case? It's like there will be an idea. It's like you come up with the idea. You're like, oh, it makes so much sense. It's so cool. The systems work so well, and it's complicated code, so nobody else is going to do it. And then somebody's going to pay for it. But it's not really the right approach because even people who are established, they don't know like exactly what everybody's going to pay for. They make a theory and they test it, and they find out what happens. For example, like when you're on YouTube, like now it asks you like, do you like this video? And you can hit yes or no, because they're training a machine learning model to figure out like what the best things to recommend to you are. Because YouTube has a struggle with figuring out, how do I know somebody likes a video? Is it because they watched it a long time, because they subbed to the person, because they liked it? But I know you like it if you hit like and you subscribe and hit the bell, because then I'll know to make more content like this. But that's why not just YouTube, but everything else has all these surveys now. If you buy clothes as a survey, what do you think about it? And that's just so they know, they have the research of what people actually want, where people are going, and where the market is going. So I also want to touch on the point about self-worth. I think a lot of people are focused on judgment of a person based on their, I don't know, let's say their merit, or how smart they feel, or how much cool stuff they did. And you kind of have to separate those things from your self-worth, because it's only going to wear you down in these kinds of situations. For example, I was literally just thinking about something that made me feel that way, right? That's just a natural thing about being human. You're always going to feel like there's something wrong or something to improve, or you make a realization about yourself like, oh, you're in this situation, not in that situation. It's like you have a cool car, oh, but that guy's car. And then you start comparing, and it's only going to cause you issues. For example, in development, if you think, oh, I'm doing a good job, I'm working on these things, I'm proactive, I build my own apps, but I've never built a machine learning app, and that makes me feel not cool. Or like, there used to be this thing when I was growing up where everybody would talk about like C++ being the only language that a true developer would use. And if you made a project in something else, or you used a scripting language, or you did this or that, like, oh, then that was stupid or cringe. I guess now people say cringe. I don't think they were saying it back then. But you have to kind of remove the judgment. This is real developers, they're not sitting around and talking about like how much of losers C++ developers are, right? You might find people having a discourse about not liking a language or thinking it's not good for these use cases. But they're not doing this thing that you'll see in like the TV show Silicon Valley or something, where it's like that guy's writing shitty code, so he says, oh, you're stupid for writing that, or whatever it is. Or, oh, you don't have a fully automated scaling system, like, or you still use Java for that. You know, for me, it's like, I'd never want to build a UI in Java, but if it's working for you, then power to you. And that's the difference. I'm not talking about how awful the person is because they use Java. I'm not talking about how stupid someone is because they, I don't know, wanted to build everything from the ground up in C. I'm just saying I don't want to do that. Like, I think there's better tools for doing that now. And better is across a few different dimensions, if you will, right? That's developer efficiency, how many different developers are using it, like how much adoption there is of it, how easy it is to write that kind of code in that system, and the tools it provides for that system. So there's a few reasons to use something over the other thing, but as soon as you start judging the people for it, you're only going to be judging yourself, because judgment of others is also judgment of yourself. It's saying that people are on a different, like, people's worth is based off of certain things that they do. So then when you stop doing something, oh, suddenly you're a less valuable person. You're just going to feel horrible all the time. And that's why you can't get hired, right? You'll start making things up like that because you make things in Python or something, or because you don't make things in Python. I don't know. For me, I only use it for ML stuff. I'm not a huge fan, but if you are a fan, then tell me why. So I think the self-worth is really important. I think recognizing that they're looking for business value is really important. And I touched on this a little bit recently. What are people looking for in something like a resume? Because people are always asking me that. And I'm not a resume writer. I know resume writers. I can send you their way. But I do take information from people who know better than me about it. For example, following that theory of business value, something that people are supposed to put in their resume is quantitative values that state what benefit you had on a certain project at a certain organization. So instead of saying, you know, I built everything from the ground up in a month in Ruby for a full stack application that lets you find the ideal dog park based on your Google Maps route or something. And okay, so now the recruiter knows that you made something in Ruby and that you've made a full stack hobby project before, but he doesn't know how full stack it is, if you get what I'm saying. And he also probably heard one word in that, like, I don't know, dog bark app, right? Something, I don't know, is what the recruiter's thinking. And you don't want to be in a position where they like read like 5 words out of the sentence. You want the 5 words they read out of the sentence to be thousands of dog owners, right? Like thousands of consumers or something. You want those to be the words somebody read, right? Like enabled thousands of dog owners to find dog parks via full stack Rails app, whatever it is, right? It's difficult if you don't have users in general with everything, with both full-time work and business. But if you can get them, it's a good thing to target because that's going to set you like over everyone is, I built this thing and it has these users. And that's something that you get with experience, which I know is a shitty answer for people who are, let's say, completely new. But you just have to try and build things, and eventually you'll find an opportunity and somebody will take that chance on you. If you sold yourself in a way that you're like proactive, you want to learn, you want to do things, and let's say you want to be a senior developer, you're like, I want to give it my all, I want to build everything, even though you don't know everything yet. And you're ready to admit, I don't know everything, but I've always learned the things that I needed to get where I am. When I was building the dog park finder, for example, I'm talking from the perspective of you, you're the dog park owner. So you say, when I built the dog park app, I learned everything that I needed to support the infrastructure of having all those people go into Google Maps and hooking into their app and listening and doing this and that and handling their preferences. And maybe I even put in support so when people complained about it, I could address their feedback and update it. Things like that are ideal to get out of an app. I would say for me personally, my perspective that helped me was I didn't have this belief that I needed to wait for one of these positions to save me. I would operate like I was going to make my own job. And then I would either eventually make my own job through selling stuff, or somebody would give me an opportunity that met my needs before that happened. And when I operated with that mindset, it was pretty powerful because it spares you of sitting around and waiting and thinking something's gonna come around, something is gonna save me. It makes it so you know you have to build apps, you know you have to get users on them, so go do that. And also, you're working a second full-time job, which is finding a full-time job. I like to make these videos because I know the market's not super good right now. I know people are freaking out, so I'm trying to just be a voice of reason where I can. Leave a like and hit subscribe, and if you have a question about anything I mentioned, like, okay, but how do I provide that value? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more of this stuff. And I'll definitely be here to chat about what the hell is going on in the industry, because I know things aren't pretty. Let me know how I can help. And I'll see you around in the next one.